Okay, so we're live. It's Kern Watts here with Growth Mindset, here with Orlando. This week, we're continuing to grow, expanding that mindset, and we'd like to be discussing life lessons and things that are ingrained in us that we've learned.
Yeah, it's a good topic just because we've all gone through those hard lessons, and my mother used to always say you can have a hard head and learn it yourself, or you can be smart and learn those lessons through other people. So yeah, so Kern, what's one of your life lessons that you kind of carry with you to this day?
So one of my life lessons has been to keep your head down. Stay focused on what you want to achieve, and what the actual goal is. So I started like life goals and lessons, and I remember little school, meaning kindergarten to grade five. I was just playing with my friends, basically, is what it felt like. Middle school, I was getting more focused on school, but baseball started taking off a little bit. And then in high school, it seemed like baseball increased exponentially, not only in my awards and accolades, but the experience as well. Played for a great high school team where we won all of the province of Ontario 3 out of 4 years. And so we played in the Sky Dome. I think it's the Rogers Place now. Um, and so we were with all the MLB stars at the time, Carlos Delgado. And then I went into university, and it was still baseball, obviously schooling as well, but it seemed to continue to increase. And so when my freshman year, we went to the College World Series, right? So I got a ring for that. And then I came back, played summer baseball in Toronto. And then my next year, I transferred to University of Evansville. We got better. And then that summer, I went and played summer baseball in Texas. We won, we got a ring for that. And then I went back to Evansville. We won the all conference. I made all conference, all regional team, all tournament team as well. The only player to actually do that. And it just seemed to keep getting better the more I focused on it. But I tell my kids this as well. If you don't stay focused, if you look at Connor McDavid, he's an NHL superstar. Everybody loves him. He is amazing. Yes, but I say there's probably five people that grew up just like him. They got drafted first round just like him. And one loved to party. They got caught up in drugs. Another got caught up in alcohol. Another got injured. And then another one got somebody pregnant or something. And so it's like, if you are distracted, even the slightest, those things will stop you from your end goal. And life goes in ebbs and flows, meaning it speeds up and it slows down. And going through those times, it was full speed ahead. I couldn't take my eye off the ball. But there's times when life slows down, and it allows you to look back at those things you've accomplished. And so I would say stay focused on the task at hand and don't look back, because when you can't run full speed ahead if you're trying to look back. And so focus on your goals is what I would say is the life lesson, is stay focused on that and stay true to that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Mine's just kind of like the same thing. I've always had some good people in my life that kind of gave me some good lessons. One of them, not only my mother told me, but my high school football coach used to say, there's a difference between getting ahead in life and getting over in life. And so he used to always say, make sure that you put in the work, whether that work is in the weight room, whether that work is in the classroom, because if you don't do that and you try to get over, you try to cheat it. So yeah, I'm supposed to do 10 reps, but I only do 2 reps. Or I'm supposed to, have sprinted, but I didn't. So you think you got over, but at the end of the day, that'll show up on game days, and you'll fall short, right? And then so those things he really kind of put in me to make sure, right? I mean, even growing up, it's funny, like when you learn those life lessons and you go back into your life, it's the same thing that my mother used to tell me. So he just echo it. But even growing up and seeing some of my friends go on to sell drugs and all that, and then you see them with the big cash in their pocket, new cars, all the girls around them, and you're like, man, like I could just do that. It's so much easier, right? Because that's what you see. You just see the fast money, right? But you don't see all the all the hate that they're getting on the back end or what they're doing to get that money, right? And so eventually all of that catches up to you. And how it catches up to you, that's how a lot of drug dealers either end up dead or end up in jail, right? So my lesson to people, that's my life lesson. And that's what I always kind of stand by. And I'm going to try to instill that in my son as soon as possible is make sure that son that you understand the difference between getting ahead in life. And getting ahead is to make sure that you put in the work, to make sure that when you look somebody in the eye and say, hey, I'm going to do this, that you do it, right? Be a man of your words. So and stick to that. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Put in the work. If you're playing sports, make sure you're the best teammate that you can be. Make sure you put in the work, not only when people are watching you, but the real important thing is when no one's watching, because that defines the character in you, right? And not only in sports, but also in work. Are you putting in work on the back end of things, or are you just getting over by the name of the company? Oh, the company's a big name, I'll get the business. Or are you out there earning every single business deal that you do because you're putting in the work on the back end, right? So to all the people, anybody who's watching this, it's sometimes the grass looks green on the other side, but you don't know that person's struggle or what that person's walking through. And you don't know if they're doing it the right way or the wrong way. End of the day, it's not your business. Just make sure that whatever you're doing is you're getting ahead in life, because that way you never have to look back and wonder if that door is ever going to open and one of your skeletons is going to come knocking on the door and hurt you. Like we've seen so much with this Me Too movement, right? We've seen a lot of men do some things that they weren't supposed to do back in the days, and now all of a sudden they think everything is good and they got over on a lot of these women, and now all of this is coming to fruition, and they're getting in trouble. Some of them are getting jail time, but even if you don't get jail time, your name is tarnished, right? And so I mean, whether it's true or not, I'm not here to judge it to say whether it is, but what I'm saying is at the end of the day, the things that you don't do on the up and up and that you think you're doing it in the dark, it's never going to stay in the dark. The only way it stays in the dark is if you do it yourself. If there's any other person involved in it, it'll always come to the light. So just make sure that whatever path you take in life, make sure that you're getting ahead in life and not getting over. So that's the lesson that I've kind of learned that sticks to me, and I think it's kept me on the right path.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you for sharing that as well. Um, well, you said one thing that, yeah, you got to put in the time, no cutting corners, and you talked about the weight room, and so that resonated with me because I would always say championships are won when no one is looking.
Mm-hmm.
Championships are won when no one is looking. So even at school, yeah, my coach may leave and he could be working out with another guy and then he's gone, right? And he cuts the corner and he leaves. And I just had the mindset that no, I wasn't even doing this for the coach. You know what I mean? I'm doing this for me because I know the time and effort that I put in. And I know that I'm mentally tough enough to do this. And so that's what I think about is like, no, this is when the championships are won. This is when the time is put in, and you'll see the results on the field or work in the presentations or whatever. You'll see the work come out, but I'm not looking at anybody else to define the character that's in me, right? So it's these life lessons show themselves so much. I think of life in hurdles, right? Whether you're getting physically fit for a certain thing, right? You want to do it in a certain time. There could be you have a large presentation, right? And you got to do the research. You got to put together the slides. You got to talk it through. You got to rehearse it. It could be even doing an exam, right? But you got to get your education level up to that point, pass, right? And you may not stay up there, but then you can come down and do. And so I think of those ebbs and flows, and you have to be in peak position and peak condition for the specific task at hand. The specific task at hand. And you mentioned another thing about selling. One of my mentors, he said this thing to me is that you're trying to sell, or whatever you're doing, you're trying to sell for when you don't have the product. Mm-hmm. And so I agree, you're selling for when you don't have the product, but it was even more so shows through is the character that you have when you have the golden goose is still the same the character that you have when you don't have the golden goose. That's the consistency that people want to see. That is tried, true, tested. It is steady Eddie, right?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, man. And I like what you were saying, like, stay focused and keep your head down, right? Because a lot of times, we get distracted. My son, I take him out to play soccer, and as soon as he picks up his head and he looks left to the right, he's running after some dirt pile as opposed to the ball or something like that, right? So it just goes to show that if you have a goal, just set your goal and stay true to that goal and keep your head down and do it, because there's nothing about life that's easy. And that's what people need to understand. There's nothing about being a kid that's easy. There's nothing about being an adult that's easy. There's nothing about working that's easy. Even millionaires, there's nothing about being a millionaire that's easy. So every aspect of life is hard, but you just have to make sure that you stay focused on what your goal is and who you want to be. And as long as you do that, then you're going to be okay. But we have this perception that we think life is supposed to be easy. Right. But you're not, because you're dealing with people. So you're always going to come up to somebody who doesn't like you for whatever reason. So there's no need to get upset and want to fight. It's like, okay, well, we can agree to disagree and just continue to stay on your path to do what you want to do. Right. Because no one sees the vision like you do. The only time people see the vision is when it's complete. Right. Because when you tell people what you want to do in life, it's all about, you can't do it. I remember when I wanted to do the comedy show. I remember a lot of people like, oh, you're charging $50 for a cut. That'll never happen. Like, no one's gonna come to that. No one's gonna do this and that. And we actually started our comedy show and we're charging like $35, but we sold an experience. It wasn't necessarily about the comedians. It was about how we wanted to make people feel. And that's the key. I think people won't remember necessarily what you give them. They'll remember how you make them feel in the moment. And so we always wanted to make people in our comedy show feel like special. So you came in, it was like that red carpet, come on in, sit you down. We had your name. If you bought a table, we had your name there. Sometimes we even got them a bottle or some free wings or whatever. So you felt special. And I think when people walked away from our show, even if it wasn't the best show, right? Because I'm not going to sit there and say all the shows were amazing. There were some of them, we put up 3 comedians. Some of them would be great. Some of them will be mediocre, right? But the overall experience, I think people left with that feel good feeling. And that's why they were okay with paying that price.
Yeah.
So just, and if I would have swayed and went by what people were saying or their perception of what they thought of what I was trying to do, then I would have got discouraged and never even done a show, right? But I was like, you know what? If I'm to your point, and you said it the best, if I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna run 100%. I'm just gonna go full blast, and if I fail, at least I can say, hey, I tried it, it didn't work, and I can always regroup. And my goal was never to make a lot of money off it. My goal was actually just to bring comedy to Calgary, to the forefront, right? Like that was really it. And so, yeah, so I take from what you said, yeah, man, just stick to your goal, keep your head down and just push on and let once you execute what you want, let that speak for itself. Because it's going to speak louder than anything.
Yes. And there's always going to be someone that tells you can't do this, you shouldn't do this. Oh, I have a friend that tried that and they didn't make it. Like there's always like you can do anything and there's going to be somebody that's going to try and talk you out of it. And I just say, as soon as that person starts, even if it's in your mind, because that person could be yourself,
Mhm.
right? And you got to push through that. Because once you are past that, and once you get that moment to look back, you know what you accomplished, what it took to accomplish that, whether you felt like you were swimming upstream or the wind was in your face, you know the effort that you put into it. And if you put 100%, you will reap the seeds.
No, absolutely. I mean, hey, we seen 50 cents take vitamin water that was barely making anything, and just his branding, his product placement on his videos, and just different types of flavors
Mhm.
skyrocketed that. And look how much money he made off of it. So there's a lot of people who sell the same thing, and some people are just more successful than other. Doesn't mean that they're better people than them. It just means that their vision was a little bit different, or they stuck to their vision longer.
Yes.
Right? That's sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes we as people we quit too soon, right? Or like when we're always talking about stocks, right? There's a couple of stocks, and I hate to admit this, but there's a couple of stocks that I was like, this is going to go. I know it is, and I go all in on it, and I'm in it, and then I'm in it for a month, and I'm down like 15%. I'm angry, and then I forget why I got into it, and I let my emotions take over, and it's happened to me twice. And I pull out, and less than a week later, that stock goes up 95%. And I'm like, but that's why I got into it in the beginning. I knew that was why, but I let the media and say, oh, this and that. But it's like, but I did my research. I knew why I got into stock. I knew why I wanted to hold it long term, but I got anxious. My hands got itchy. And then I started losing faith on the research that I did. And I got out and I got burnt. Right. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's just best to just stick with your gut. I mean, you have to know when to let it go, but at least just stay focused on your goal. You did the work. Now just lean on that. You know that the research that or whether you're an athlete, if you put in that extra work, know that that's going to pay off. At some point, you're going to get your opportunity, and when opportunity and training meets, then you have to do the best that you can. Right?
Mhm. No, I think that's good. I think that summarizes a lot of good points. Um, I look forward to coming back and seeing this, or people posting the comments and what they've achieved and what life lessons that they've learned, and any of this and how it's actually helped them achieve any goals as well. So stay tuned, keep tuning in, and thank you for coming out. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a blessed